and welcome to World Talks on TVP World with me, Ashim Kumar. Sweden's King Carl Gustaf XVI is in Poland for a state visit that highlights rapidly growing security ties between the two countries, as Warsaw and Stockholm deepen cooperation on Baltic Sea defence, civil resilience and NATO coordination. Jakob Hallgren, director of the Swedish Institute of International Affairs, joins us now. Mr. Hallgren, welcome to TVP World, and thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you for the invitation. It's great to be back.
Pleasure. So before we start, there's a short soundbite I'd like to share with you and the audience, and then I'll get your view on it.
We must, at a time of profound challenges, meet and stay together. Recent developments in the Middle East and ongoing war in Ukraine threaten our society, economies and security. This is precisely when European resilience is put to the test. Resilient nations adopt quickly, support another, and learn fast. Ukraine is a clear example of having shown remarkable unity and determination to resist Russian aggression.
Now, Mr. Hallgren, that was the King speaking just there. Now, before we get into the details of the visit, strategically speaking, what does this visit mean?
Well, I think it's quite obvious that any state visit, and I think maybe this one in particular, confirms the closeness of two countries, in this case Poland and Sweden. It's a closeness, it's the outside world, it's the threats out there that has brought us together, but we've also come to realize that we have so much in common historically, politically, industrially, etc. these days. So there's much to celebrate, and I think it is a testament to that we are close and we want to become even closer.
Yes, I mean, certainly that makes sense on a number of levels, but does it mean anything special that the King himself and, of course, Queen Sylvia are coming to Poland?
Oh, it does. It does. It's kind of the heavy artillery, and it's the ultimate confirmation that the links between the two countries are very strong. It's fairly rare that those state visits happen, so in that sense, it's really a symbol of a closeness, and certainly from Sweden's side, since it's this time Sweden paying a visit to Poland, it shows that the King himself is committed. He wouldn't do that if he didn't believe in this, and believed in that this would also further the close relations even more.
Understood. Now, what's on the agenda during this visit?
Well, I think it's a broad agenda. It includes commercial ties, culture, history, but I think the two key areas that you highlighted yourself already in the beginning is the links in the security and defense field in the Baltic Sea, how they have become much more closer for various reasons, namely Russia, but the bigger geostrategic situation in the world. And the second area, I believe, is the increased and intensified defense industrial collaboration. So these are the two areas that stand out on top of closer discussions on civil defense and industrial collaboration, culture, etc.
Since Sweden has joined NATO, has that changed the complexion of the relationship between the two countries?
Oh, absolutely. That has made an enormous difference. I mean, since both Finland and Sweden joined NATO, and the fact that, all littoral states in the Baltic Sea, apart from Russia, of course, are allies, have made, certainly from the Swedish side, has made us understand that we need to collaborate much more closely. All the previous barriers, for whatever reasons, are gone, and now we need to develop those ties with other littoral states across the Baltic Sea, and Poland is particularly strategically important for Sweden, I would say. Given our joint responsibility for a peaceful Baltic Sea.
Now, you talk about joint responsibility. Sweden is going to be deploying aircraft, military aircraft in Poland. What is that telling you?
Well, first of all, it's this thing you do among allies in NATO, of course, but I think it's also a reflection of that Sweden is willing to take a much broader and stronger responsibility, whether it's in Poland, in Lithuania, northern Finland, Greenland, Iceland, etc. We want to show that we are. Or Sweden wants to show that it's a security net contributor, not really a consumer, which is an area where I think we have a lot in common with Poland. There is a high degree of admiration for the way in which Poland is taking security and defense very, very seriously, and in many ways a role model for many of the other allies.
In terms of the industrial relationship between the two countries, what do we see coming down the road?
Well, I think last time we spoke, you and I, we spoke at the occasion of the news that Poland was acquiring 3 Swedish-built A-26 submarines. The same type that Sweden is procuring, and I think we also spoke about the fact that Sweden had acquired quite a few of the Polish-made rocket launchers, the Manpads Piorun, so that kind of illustrates the willingness to work together reciprocally, essentially, procuring from each other's strength. I also think that particularly the submarine deal means that Poland and Sweden together will be able to collaborate and on sensor technologies, on monitoring, on overviewing what is happening in the Baltic Sea, and thereby creating real strategic dilemmas for Russia, as it were.
Right. Now, I mean, you mentioned the Baltic just there, but does this mean that, with the two countries working so closely together, or even more closely together, and in partnership with the other Baltic states, does this mean that it's going to make life a little bit more difficult for Russia to be cutting undersea cables, shipping oil, sanction-busting oil through the Baltic and so on?
Yeah, I think that the patience with Russia's hybrid warfare, in the whole of the alliance, but most notably in the Baltic Sea area, is coming to an end. And you see various signs of how the countries, the allies around the Baltic Sea are stepping up their responses, and there is a new willingness to impose costs that, of course, needs to be done in a calibrated way. But there is a new awareness of that Russia can't just do and get away with whatever. And I think you in Poland have experienced much of that domestically in Poland, but we've seen that across the Arctic. And we as allies, we need to collaborate more closely, just essentially sending the clear signal that this can't go on as it has.
Now, with this as an example, is this part of a general trend, or where the Scandinavian and the Baltic states and Poland are actually building deeper ties to produce a more cohesive strategy in the region, both defensive and industrial?
Yeah, I do think so, but because the other thing that must be mentioned these days is, of course, that we have an increasing uncertainty about the U.S. commitment to at least as it used to be, to European NATO. It's not as if they're going away from Article 5 or anything like that, but they've clearly said that we need to take more responsibility as European allies. I think that there is a high degree of like-mindedness between the Nordics, Nordic-Baltics and Poland, and I think also with Germany. So since we have realized that we have a high degree of like-mindedness, we have realized that we are a frontline region, if I may say so, means that we have to take those, we have to step up those collaborations in the security and defense and the resilience fields. We would have liked it to be otherwise, but we need to face our strategic reality as it is, and I think the sense in Sweden is that in Poland we have found a newfound and much stronger collaboration and friendship and like-mindedness there, that there is an appetite to explore and develop and deepen further.
Now, with President Trump, America's focus on Iran at the moment, there is a concern that, resources such as military equipment and so on from the United States will be in shorter supply. How does this relationship between Sweden and Poland in particular, but the other countries in the region, support Ukraine more effectively?
No, but that's a huge issue. I mean, there is obviously a concern that some of the assets that were available for Ukraine, either directly from the United States or procured via European channels, will simply not be available any longer because they have been diverted to the Middle East instead. This, of course, is an advantage, combined with the higher oil price and so on, is an advantage for Russia. And we need to find ways, I think, collectively to compensate for that. For those of us who do not only talk about the fact that we need to support Ukraine, but actually are doing that very concretely in terms of equipment and funding, etc., because we see the wider risk for Europe's security, we probably need to step up even more and convince the others who have not been stepping up as much in Europe to do even more of that.
Indeed, so walking the walk. Mr. Hallgren, as always, thank you so much for coming along and sharing your analysis with our audience. Have a good evening, sir.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. And that brings us to the end of this episode of World Talks. Don't go away. Lots more coming up. Goodbye.